so hard that pain shot up her spine. She tried to remember if her health plan paid for chiropractic treatment. When the pain cleared and she opened her eyes, the plane was turning toward a low brown prefab terminal where two figures stood in a patch of pale winter sunlight. The welcoming committee from the Friends of the Perdido River. An ancient, mud-splattered white van was the only vehicle in sight. If this was to be their ground transportation, Jessie hoped it had good suspension. Beside her, Fitch stretched and yawned, a honking sound that reminded her of a recent National Geographic special on Canadian geese. She glared at him before she felt around at her feet for her briefcase. Predictably, he didn't notice. She had met Fitch Collier, as prearranged by her employer, in the boarding area at Kennedy a long 10 hours before. Already she was beginning to loathe him. Besides the upgrading and the kibitzing from the aisle, he'd spent their entire layover in San Francisco on his cellular, talking to more people than Jessie even knew about a variety of subjects designed to impress anyone within the Greater Bay Area. From these conversations, Jessie had learned, among other things, that Fitch expected to make a small fortune on the upcoming IPO of Softtech, that the Benz was being repainted, that he was still searching for a good deal on a timeshare on St. Bart's, that the Babe couldn't get enough of him. In short, that Fitch was an ostentatious, inconsiderate jerk, all the more so because he made her feel mean-spirited for disliking him so much after so short an acquaintance. When she had drawn this assignment, Jessie had been excited. What community liaison specialist at Environmental Consultants Clearinghouse wouldn't have been? An opportunity to work with Fitch, one of the best water rights attorneys in the country. A trip to a remote part of the Northern California coast. A complex and potentially precedent-setting case that, should they win it, would earn them front-page coverage in newspapers across the country. Jessie Domingo in the New York Times. Jessie Domingo on 60 Minutes. Jessie Domingo, stuck at the end of nowhere with an egomaniacal, dictatorial lawyer who clearly considered her a mere flunky, and who, should they succeed, would end up taking all the credit for their joint efforts. Reality strikes. Jessie strikes out, again. The pilot shut down the plane, and Jessie peered out at the pair by the terminal. The stocky woman in the voluminous multicolored skirt and cape would be Bernina Tobin, and the lanky denim-clad man with a cloud of silver-gray curls, Joseph Openshaw. From both her reading of the Foundation's research files and her phone conversations with Bernina, Jessie knew that she was a Maine transplant and had led the Friends of the Perdido River in their year-long battle against a water grab by Aqueduct Systems Incorporated, a North Carolina corporation. Openshaw had been one of Jessie's heroes ever since she became interested in ecology. A nationally known environmental activist and author, and a native of the Cape Perdido area, he'd returned from the state capital early in the fight to lend his support, and had done much to turn public opinion against the waterbaggers, as the locals called them. Jessie and Fitch had been sent by ECC to Cape Perdido in order to familiarize themselves firsthand with the situation. They would consult with local experts in hydrology and ecosystems, as well as with the leaders of the protests and other residents of the area. Next week they would journey to Sacramento, where Fitch would argue their case before the State Water Resources Control Board. If all went well, they would score a major coup for pro-environmental groups. If not, the board would rule to allow a pumping station to be built upstream on the Perdido and pipe laid across a defunct lumber company's mill site, where the river's waters would be sucked into massive rubberized bags moored offshore, to be towed south and sold to drought-starved Southern California municipalities such as San Diego, leaving the community with no recompense for its loss, leaving the ecology of the Perdido permanently damaged, and a visual blight on what was now a pristine and beautiful coastline, leaving the door open for violence in a place where the citizens had long embraced the tradition of taking the law into their own hands when the law didn't suit them. The challenge was clear. Jessie stepped down from the plane.